Welcome back. Well, Australian mortgage holders got a bit of a shock this week. They thought they were getting a rate cut, but Michelle Bullock and the RBA board decided to keep rates on hold. It was a split decision. Joining me now is independent MP Dai Le. This decision really says a lot about our economy. It is sluggish, but the RBA is not quite sure whether inflation is truly under control. They want to make sure that is the case. And there's a few bright spots in our economy. There's a few warning signs as well. Dai, you've always got your finger on the pulse there in Western Sydney about what's happening in this cost of living crisis and whether it has subsided. Are people feeling like the foot is off their neck at least?
Oh, not really, Laura. I mean, I'm not an economist, but I can speak from as a mum, as a local person here, and speaking to local businesses and families. Our energy bills have gone up. I don't know if you guys have noticed. And we did have a report from the Australian Energy Regulator prior to the election saying that energy bills in New South Wales will go up by about 10%. But my husband and I were looking at our bills last night and it's gone up by about 25%. So it's not 10%. Wow. So that's, and I can afford, and I'm sure you can afford to deal with the increase in electricity prices. And I know that the government is, introduced their their home batteries rebate. And again, I think is a welcome. I welcome that for those families like myself, and I'm sure I don't know if you can afford. I'm sure you can afford to have home batteries, but for families in Western Sydney who don't have the ability to buy solar panels or home batteries, the cost of energy bills for small businesses and families is still going to be really high. So that is a real challenge, I believe, for the government. And I have to remind the government, the Prime Minister said that there'll be no one left behind under his, leadership. And I hope that he stick to that no one will be left behind. And Southwest and Western Sydney families, I think, are feeling like they're left behind with the cost of living. It's still very much critical, and people might think we've moved on. The election has been held, but people are still feeling the cost of groceries. My hairdresser said the other day that a bunch of water spinach, which used to be about $3.99, a few bunches. Now it's about $20 a kilo, or it's based on $20, $25 a kilo. Wow. And the price has just gone up for these kind of green vegetables here in Western Sydney. So I'm really concerned, and with the interest rates stable, not going up or down and staying the same, people are going to be nervous, of course, to actually what would that mean for them, for the mortgages, those who've got mortgages? Yeah,
we're in this bit of a weird period at the moment because Parliament hasn't sat since we saw the election. A lot of MPs are taking a well-deserved holiday on all sides of politics before we get back into the parliamentary sitting calendar, when it does tend to get pretty willing. But what is on the government's agenda? Is it clear what Anthony Albanese's priority is?
Look, obviously everybody has gone quiet from the government side, and we were pretty quiet. I mean, my office, since the election was over, we've kind of hit the ground running continuously and continue to engage with my community, and that's why I understand the cost of living and how much pressures there are kind of feeling. We don't know. I mean, I have seen the Prime Minister on TikTok promising that every school will be funded. Fully funding schools, and I don't know what that means. Like, I know that my local schools, some of the schools here, have come to me and saying that they're still on demountables. Their population is really bursting at the seam, and the school needs funding to actually build more classrooms. So what does the Prime Minister and the government talks about? Fully funding our schools, right? So I'd love to hear more about it. There's little TikTok things that he does on TikTok, which is great insight into what they're going to focus on, and I hope that they will deliver on those that they promoting on TikTok. So look, we're waiting with bated breath when we go back, when we get all sworn in on the 22nd of July, and I am really excited and humbled, and we're going to be going down there and and be sworn in to get my second term.
Yeah, what about the productivity roundtable, the summit that's coming up in August? I think this is such an opportunity for us to actually get some real tax reform done, perhaps the first time in over 2 decades to do that. The Prime Minister saying that he wants everything on the table. Some people are reading it as him taking GST off the table, too politically difficult to be that. But I didn't actually read it like that. I think there is an appetite, particularly when it comes to the Treasurer, Jim Chalmers, to get something meaningful done here. How important is it, do you think, to change the tax system, make it more efficient and have that reform?
Look, I think it's critical. I hope that the productivity roundtable will have outcomes. We did have, when the first term, we had the jobs and skills roundtable, but we still did not address the skill shortages that Australia is still feeling. So my hope is that this productivity roundtable would address the productivity of our country, because what are we producing? How are we supporting small business, small manufacturing? How do we enable them to scale and export to the world? How do we make them innovative, right? And taxing, the main tax is still with the PAYG, pay as you earn income tax is still the main tax collection revenue for the government, for the ATO. We need to shift away from that. And I will probably be calling, and I've been calling for the increase in tax threshold, which is currently 18,200, which was a rate that was back in 2012. But the other thing I'm going to look at is that how do low to middle income can cope with the increasing cost in energy? It's probably through the low and middle income tax offset, which Labor took off when they won government the first time in 2022. So I'm going to push for that. But, let's hope that there's going to be some productive outcomes at this productivity roundtable.
Yeah, I hope so too. Dai Le, always good to speak to you. We'll check in soon.